Chair, I want to put some questions to the Minister, and I'd like to get a couple of answers, actually. One of the questions that I do have is with regards to the support that the government will be giving to sole parents or DPB recipients to actually study. And I raised this earlier in the night, but I haven't got a response yet, and I would like a response from the Minister. Why is it that we will only, or the legislation will only allow for supporting DPB recipients for level 4 or higher, not level 1, 2 and 3, and how do we allow them to actually prepare adequately for level 4 or higher than level 4, if they haven't got any secondary school qualifications and then they're not supported to get level 1, 2 or 3. Now that's one thing I want to put to the Minister, but also how does it make sense then to maintain the training incentive allowance but only for those that are studying at level 1, 2 or 3 when they will no longer be supported to study at level 1, 2 or 3 if they are a DPB recipient. So that is the number one question that I want to put to the Minister, and I'd like a response to with respect to that. Now, just moving on, there are a few other things that I want to touch on, and one of them is just the fact that last night I was at a Pacific Women's Watch meeting and actually spoke to them about the impact of these welfare reforms on single mothers, because that's something that they were quite interested in hearing about. And I think the thing that came up not only in my speech but also from the audience that was there attending last night was just the complete disregard that this legislation shows for the valuable contribution to our society that is made by people for whom caring for children or the sick or the elderly is in fact their primary yet unpaid work at this time in their lives. And we've talked a lot about the importance of work and supporting beneficiaries to go out there and take up work, and we support that on this side of the House. We are supportive. That's why we put Working for Families into place. But what we don't believe is that we can underestimate the importance of a mother actually staying home and looking after her children if that's what she feels she needs to do. And I just want to bring up again, in the Minister's own maiden speech, she also said that parents should have the right to choose to work full-time, the right to choose to work part-time, or the right to stay home and raise their children if they wish. Now, that is the issue that we need to discuss here. We're not saying that you don't support women to get out there into the workforce. We're saying that if they decide that what is best for them because of their circumstances, because of the needs of their particular children, if they decide that they actually need to be at home, then shouldn't we actually support them in doing that? Because it is not always going to be the case that getting out in the workforce is necessarily the best thing. And I can think of some examples. I can think of one friend who has 7 children and whose husband left her 2 years ago. Now, she did not expect that to happen, but to go out into the workforce and then expect her to still run a household, to run around after her 7 children, to look after them adequately, well, I think it's a bit unfair. If she wants to get out into the workforce, that's up to her. But if she decides with 7 children that actually she needs to be at home, then I think that's actually a fair call, and we should be supporting her on that. Earlier, Mr Woodhouse, I heard him interjecting and just saying that children go to school and that it's during those hours that the parents should be able to go out and work. Well, unfortunately, we don't necessarily have the jobs that fit around the schedules of children and their school hours. And so we're not always going to have that. On top of that, when you do have a rather large family and you look at the individual circumstances, just going back to that woman with 7 kids, you can never predict when those children are going to be sick or when the mother is going to be called upon to need to support at school. How often can the mother, when she's got, say, 7 children, get away with saying to her boss, actually, my children's sick? And even when you only have 1 child, even when you only have 2 or 3, you know how often those things happen. You know know how often you need to be at school for whatever reason or another. So can you imagine if you are staring at 7 children and the expectations and the demands that would be placed on you there? I think it's a little naive of Mr Woodhouse to assume that every parent can get out there and work during those school hours, because that isn't always the case. Mr Chair.